In this video, I'm going to talk about Dystopian Wars, more specifically, the Crown and 3 battle fleets. Welcome, Commanders. It's Peter here from the Esoteric Order of Gamers, talking about Dystopian Wars. Now, it's long past time that I talked more about this fantastic steampunk tabletop naval miniatures war game. I played it again the other day and we had such fun, and amazingly we played it with just 2 units on a side, just for a short game. It was still great fun, lots and lots of strategy, lots of cinematic moments. It's a really good game. I enjoy it. And I've been building up my battle fleets over time thanks to the generosity of War Cradle Studios, who have been sending me product as it comes out, and my goodness, they are really churning out an amazing amount of models for this game. The support has been incredible. Every month there's new stuff coming out. Now, they do send me free stuff, but I don't charge for these videos, and as always, my opinions are completely my own. So today I'm going to talk about the Crown, which is pretty much the typical English Empire steampunk faction in Dystopian Wars. I've got quite a lot for it now, and we're going to talk about 3 battle fleets today, which I've managed to put together. They are the Avalon battle fleet, which features a fantastic floating ship a la the Avengers. There's also the Protecteur fleet, which features a huge aircraft carrier submarine. And finally, this fantastic big one, the Gloriana battle fleet, which features a huge battleship. So there's lots and lots to see. Stick around. Most of it will be painted as well, because a lot of these battle fleets share particular units, and I've painted up some of them. Let's check it all out. Let's go. So let's get started with the Avalon battle fleet. This comes in a small box and it features this spectacular model. Check it out. It's a huge flying aircraft carrier with the big sort of engines on the side, just like the one in the Avengers pretty much. It's pretty amazing. Now you can see it's quite a fantastic piece of engineering here, because it's just floating on one flight stand, super glued to a base. This has broken off a couple of times already. I keep super gluing it back, so you may want to reinforce that with something. I might actually put a pin through the bottom or something as well, but with care, I'm sure it will stay together. As you can see, I've painted it up in my Crown colours, and what a spectacular thing it is. It is just a beautiful centerpiece for a Crown army. Absolutely love that figure. Now, the Sky Fortress is nicely armed with 4 rocket batteries, a heavy flak broadside, and an aerial heavy torpedo salvo. It is a big ship, so it's got lumbering, so it does drift 3 inches forward every time it moves. And it's also got the Guardian generators. Now, the Guardian generators are on most of the Crown ships, and they actually pool together as a fleet and give you a certain amount of Guardian points, which you can use as shields. Every point you spend from your pool of Guardian points takes 1 attack dice away from your opponent's attacks. The Sky Fortress can, of course, being a huge aircraft carrier, launch SRS tokens. You get 2 in the Avalon set, but if you've got other Crown sets, of course you'll have more. And it's got the usual combat air patrol, flak barrage, mine clearance, and recon flight abilities that most of these aircraft carriers have. Now, Dystopian Wars isn't the simplest of systems. There's quite a bit of crunch to it. However, they've updated the rules again. The latest version has now also been updated in my summary as well. So if you go and download my rule summary and reference, it's so easy to play if you get my rule summary, because you don't have to flip through the book. It's just on a few sheets. It's been updated to the latest version. And things like SRS tokens have been simplified a little bit. Some of the rules have been simplified, but still it's pretty crunchy. But actually, the good thing that I like about Dystopian Wars is once you start playing, that crunch sort of goes into the background. And I have complained before about the number of special abilities that some of these units have. There are units that have like 11 special abilities. However, when you spend some time with the game, you'll find that some of these are common to all the ships in a fleet, or certainly within a faction within a fleet. So the Crown have mostly English ships, but there are also Canadian ships as well, which is one of their allies. And I wonder later if they're going to have Australian and New Zealand ships as well. It'll be really interesting to see that. Probably do something like have big flying kangaroos on the front. Please don't do that. But each of those factions usually have special abilities that are common throughout the ships of that faction. So once you get to know them, you'll find they really do stick in your head. And because they don't apply to every situation, it does start to flow really nicely after a while. And I found at the games we've played that the rules do recede a bit into the background and the cinematic nature of the game comes forward, which is something I really enjoy about it. Anyway, there's more in the Avalon set, of course. There are some flying units we first saw in the Sturginium Skies starter set. Whew, say that 5 times fast. You've got 2 Pridanes, which are these wonderful floating ships, which are like, mini Avalon Sky Fortresses. These are war rotors. They're very good at taking other aerial units out of the sky because they've got cloud hunting, so they get +3 to action attack dice if the target is an aerial unit. You also get 2 Tintergel battle rotors. These are interesting in that they're like transports, so they have a landing vessel action, which allows you to stop on terrain and bring out ground units. Now, we've hardly seen any ground units in Dystopian Wars yet. It's really going to be exciting when they start expanding into ground units as well, because then we'll have land, air, and sea. So the Tintergel battle rotors really don't use that ability much as yet, but they can launch assaults against enemy models a little bit further away, 6 inches instead of the usual 4. Finally, there's 4 of the Saxon Scout rotors. These have the Vanguard ability, so they can come on an extra 5 inches after they've been deployed. And they're really fast, actually. During the movement step, if they don't make any turns, they can move an extra 2 inches so they can dash forward in one direction. They're also good at taking out aerial units. You can re-roll blanks when you're firing with those. When it comes to surface units, the Avalon Battlefleet set has 2 British support cruisers. They can be built as Hotspurs, Agincourts or Athelstan models. Now, I'm happy to see that on the back of the box now, they're actually showing the different variants quite clearly, which is really, really good. I still think they should put well-photographed painted miniatures arranged on the back on a blue background, on a textured mat of the sea. The backs of these boxes could look so good. It really frustrates me that they just still have these black and white pictures that aren't very clear. Please, War Cradles, show off your beautiful models. Get them painted and show them off to their best advantage, because really, if you pick up the back of this box, if you know the game, you say, oh, look at these great models. But if you don't know the game, it'd be so much better to see them all displayed in colour and painted on a sea background. Do it. It makes sense. Talking about changes, however, in the latest version of the Orbats, which are the PDF documents you can download with all the stats of the ships, they do have an identification guide finally. So the last few pages do show all the different models and give you the names. Now, I'd love to see those pictures actually with the units rather than in a guide at the end, but we're getting there step by step. It's certainly a lot clearer. I have spent so much time on Dystopian Wars. For some reason, it really grabs the organisational part of me, and that's a pretty big part of me because I'm pretty good at organising things. And I've come up with, as I've shown you before, my PDF documents and made all these unit cards and everything, and they're pages and pages long now. I've spent hundreds of hours, it seems. I've really got to get more games in because I've spent more time organising than I've actually spent playing. So I painted up my cruisers as Agincourt bombardment cruisers, which have these huge Taranis naval mortars at the front of the ship. They're really impressive looking things, if sort of slightly phallic, but anyway, we won't get into that. You also get a couple of Morgana assault submarines. I absolutely love these models. They've got a really sleek Captain Nemo 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea Jules Verne look. And finally, you get 4 Excalibur heavy destroyers, which have 2 gun batteries, a broadside and a torpedo salvo. They also have Vanguard, so they can come in a little bit more across the board during deployment. So Avalon Battlefleet set, this is a gorgeous set because not only does it have that huge centerpiece of the Avalon Sky Fortress, but it's got a few aerial units, it's got a couple of subs, and it's got some surface units and 2 SRS tokens. It's got a bit of everything. So I think if you're really into the Crown, go and get the Crown starter set, and then once you've played with those, you might want to expand with this set. I think it'd be the perfect next set to build up your Crown fleet. However, there are other options if you are a Crown player, and one of them is the smaller Protecteur Battlefleet set, and this one features this spectacular aircraft carrier submarine. And I know you're thinking, what? Aircraft carrier submarine? Yeah, that's what I thought too, but it looks super, super cool. And presumably it only lets off the aircraft when it actually gets to the top of the water. If it let them off while it was underwater, wouldn't go well. So Canadian ships feature in this one. You have this beautiful sub. It's a resin figure, of course. I forgot to mention, of course, that the Sky Fortress from the last set is a pure resin figure. As always, the main large miniature in each set is usually resin and the rest are plastic. So very nice, sleek sub, and again with that great Jules Verne kind of feel, absolutely lovely. That's a Canadian ship. Then we have two other Canadian ships here, and these are frontline cruisers. Now you can build these as Newfoundland, Bonaventure, Halifax, Toronto, or Yukon class models. So I've built them as Halifax, which have a double heavy gun battery up the front. Great looking figures. The only problem with these, of course, is that they have a vulnerable stern. They're very much a front-facing ship. It means that shooting attacks against the model in its rear arc going devastating. So you've got to be careful with that. However, to compensate, they're stronger up the front. They've got ablative prow armor, which means that two exploding hits that attack it from its fore arc don't explode and go on to do extra hits. So you've got to make sure you're going straight for the enemy with these ones. If you do, as I do, and always magnetize your weapons, you can pop off these two weapons and instead pop on some rocket batteries and turn them into the Toronto variant. So always good to magnetize your weapons because it gives you those options if you decide that you want to go with a slightly different ship during a particular engagement. You also get in this set 4 Orca Hunter submarines, which are lovely, sleek little craft, and these are particularly good as escorts. The rules for escorts have been cleaned up a little bit in the latest version of the rules as well, and they're really nice. They activate at the same time as the unit they're escorting, and they provide attack and defense buffs, which are really handy. So very nice to have units of ships escorted by a small unit of Hunter submarines. And to round this set off, you get a couple of SRS tokens, short-range squadrons. And then finally, we've got the Gloriana Battle Fleet set, which is a large box set. And this has a lot of the models we've seen before, but it does feature a truly spectacular battleship, the Gloriana Dreadnought, which can also be built as a Camelot or Adventurer class. So let's have a look at that. A beautifully detailed, big resin figure. Now it's got this back piece here, which you can take the weapon off and turn it upside down to make the ship look slightly different. Now the actual differences between the classes are kind of minimal. They're more to do with smaller weapons and generators. So I personally built this in the way that I think it looks the best, and then I just call it whatever variant I feel like playing with in that particular battle. So the Gloriana Dreadnought has 4 gun batteries, 4 heavy gun batteries, a heavy broadside and a heavy torpedo salvo. It's a nasty bit of kit. The Adventurer is a Grand Indiaman, so that belongs to the East India Company, which is allied with the English, of course. And that has some interesting special abilities. You can manipulate your victory and valor cards a little bit. You can re-roll blanks in any action pool, which is just fantastic. However, you can only do that if your force has more victory points than your opponent when you do it. And it also acts as a supply depot, so other ships that have run out of limited weapons can go up to this ship and get resupplied. The Indiaman has 4 gun batteries and 3 heavy gun batteries, heavy broadside and heavy torpedo salvo, so it has 1 less heavy gun battery. Or finally, you've got the Camelot High Guardian variant, which only has 3 heavy gun batteries and no gun batteries, but it does have a heavy prow ram. So a good variant if you want to get up close and personal with the enemy. You've got some aerial units in this set as well. 2 Prydain War Rotors, I've already showed you. 2 Tintagel Battle Rotors. 4 Saxon Scout Rotors. And then some smaller surface unit ships. 4 Albion Cruisers, which can also be built as Bedivere. And 8 Caliburn Frigates. The Caliburn Frigates are mine layers as well, so you can lay out mines in the battlefield to entrap your opponent. So this set definitely has more of an emphasis on surface ships and aerial ships. No submersibles in this one, but certainly that big battleship is a lovely centerpiece. So you've got a lot of choice between these 3 battle fleets. It really depends what you want to concentrate on, whether you want to stick with the English side of the faction or get some of those Canadian ships in as well. But on the whole, I just absolutely love the Crown faction. There's something sort of basic, straightforward, steampunk about it. It's not too complicated. They don't have all that kind of fancy technology that the Enlightened have and the Imperium with their lightning blasters and things. They're just, big, strong ships getting in there and shooting off rocket batteries and gun batteries until the enemy says, "Hold! Enough!" Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at the latest Crown ships. There's more coming. I've got a lot more to show you. Warcrate will bring out stuff every single month, and they very generously send me a lot of stuff. So I'm painting frantically. Some of the stuff I'll show you, it will be painted. Some of it won't be, but it'll all be built so you can see it in its final built form. So if you're into Dystopian Wars like I am, I'm sure you'll look forward to that. I will see you then. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. This is the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Don't forget to go to the website and download my rules summary and reference for Dystopian Wars. And while you're there are about 440 other ones you can check out as well for board games and tabletop miniatures games. See you next time, and good sailing!